Yo, hello. Welcome. I don't expect a large audience today because it is Easter, but the main goal of this was to get something recorded on YouTube to kind of push education. And today's topic is going to be definitely talking about the voting, how the APRs are settled, kind of what you can expect out of voting, and getting more people comfortable with the concept of voting, and kind of the dual yield that these platforms provide. Right. Obviously, I'll briefly touch on where I think we are as a protocol. Of course, before obviously we're in price discovery. We're still about 2 cents from launch price, right in between 2 and 1.5 cents, and we're only on Epoch One. We have over $30,000 in bribes. This is an inflationary token. As we gain more users, there's going to be price discovery on the token. There's going to be dumps. The APRs are lucrative, and I don't even consider this really a dump. I think we're in a very healthy position that APRs eventually have to come down on these core assets, on these normal assets. So that there's rotating capital that moves out, there's price discovery, there's chances for you to pick up new Glacier, whatever it is. I just want to say that like we're not in a bad spot. We launched and went pretty high up. We are still growing as a protocol, and we have accomplished a lot in the last 10 days. The main goal today is to talk about people that may just be used to farming and not comfortable with voting, and kind of the dual yield opportunity that you can kind of present yourself with using the platform as it's intended. And that's always my focus, is to make sure that I educate you all as investors, and the opportunity that the platform gives you in terms of yield. And then, of course, make your own informed decision. How you use this platform is how you use it. But I do want to just again reiterate that the team does not control price. We obviously don't sell any Glacier tokens, and we provide a service and a platform to use. And what happens with market participants is absolutely out of our hands. We'll always try and cater to making the protocol work as it's intended, and give a lot of opportunity to yield in different strategies, whether it be LP leveraging, voting, farming, new potential partners, new TVL being added, and new ways to play, new tokens, whatever it is. That's our goal, right? We want to build an impactful platform for AVAX. Our goal is not to market the token so that people buy it, right? And that's not really our focus, right? Our core focus is to build just a well-rounded protocol and DEX with good features, that allows you all as users to kind of take control of your finances on a Glacier, and yield to the best opportunity that you see fit. So now that that's out of the way, the voting APRs. So this isn't going to be a long one, by the way. We're not probably going to go for an hour, depending on if there's any questions or not. I'm just going to get out how voting APRs are kind of displayed, and then that hopefully helps you understand that if you're farming on Glacier, you can take some of this or all of this Glacier, especially at these early stages of accumulation, and then relock it in this V Glacier mechanic, and then earn real yield off of fees and bribes that the ecosystem is putting out. Right. So if you're earning, let's say, 1,000 Glacier, and you lock 800 of that Glacier, and then maybe sell 200 Glacier, whatever your process is, you can essentially double yield off of the platform, of an asset that you may think's appreciating or going to stay the same, or whatever you feel about the asset. But there's more than one way to earn. Farming and dumping is, of course, one way to use a DEX. But this really allows you to capture a lot of the fees that, by the way, most normal Uniswap V2s collect and use as revenue. We don't take any of it. We give it all back to the users. And you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't at least understand the mechanic behind voting, in my opinion, so that you can make that decision. So a lot of people think voting APRs is calculated one way or the other. I'm going to kind of let you know where those APRs are coming from and what to expect as a voter, right? And I've laid out an example about how we could potentially look at how voting APRs are covered. So I'll go ahead and show my screen, but I'm not really showing anything major other than the vote page on So obviously we're on the vote page here now, but let's say a pool has 1 million V Glacier used to vote on it. So that would be 1 million Glacier converted into this V Glacier mechanic that is done through the lock page here. So we have 1 million voted on, let's say, the WaveX USDT pool. You're a user that has 250,000 Glacier locked into V Glacier out of that pool. So you are 25% of the total votes casted upon that pool, right? The bribes and fees equate to $1,000. Let's say we put in 500 and then the protocol fees for the week equate to $500. So altogether, that's $1,000 that would be displayed in this bribes and fees section here, right? So now we've determined that you will, as a user, with your vote cast, earn 25% of that total bribes and fees, right? So you're going to earn $250 off of that, right? So that is where it's calculated from. The bribes and fees are divided amongst voters evenly based on your weight. If this is one person that has 12% of all votes cast on this pool, they're 100% of this 2.18 million on the AVAX USDT pool. They will earn 100% of this $5,000, right? So people are looking at this and thinking this means something else. So all of these numbers right here at the bottom is showing total votes casted, and then the total amount of votes casted on this pool versus how many total votes have been casted across the entire ecosystem. So total right now, 12% of all V Glacier has been cast to vote on this pool, the WaveX USDT. Just the same on this one and this one and this one, the next. These are how much all of these fees. And so what does this number mean, right? This is what's going to be applied to next week's emissions, right? So let's assume that next week's emissions are going to be 3 million Glacier again. It's actually going to be 2.7 million, but we're going to assume it's 3 million to make easy math, right? Let's say, let me read my notes and make sure I've wrote it down right. Yeah, okay. So let's further clarify. Let's say there's 10 million total votes cast across the entire ecosystem. We know there's 3 million Glacier that will be emitted next week, right? New freshly minted Glacier is coming out. And let's also assume that Glacier is 4 cents, right? We're just making assumptions here for easy math for you to understand. All right. So 10 million total votes. 3 million Glacier is getting emitted next week based on those 10 million votes, and Glacier is at 4 cents. That means this pool, the pool that I used in my example of the 250,000 user voting power out of 1 million, this means that this pool the following week will actually gain 10% of Glacier emissions. Now remember, 1 million total votes on the example pool, right? And 10% of all Glacier emissions, which would be 300,000 Glacier, will now be pointed at this gauge, at this farm, right? So you as a user can expect that 300,000 Glacier at 4 cents, that's roughly $12,000 in Glacier is being emitted to that pool in 7 days, okay? If there is $500,000 in TVL for this pool, $500,000 of liquidity made for this pool, that would equate to a rough APR. And now we're talking about actual APRs, right? And how the two coexist. The APRs of LP and emissions, not voting, right? So I'm trying to show you the duality of the two. This means this pool roughly there's $500,000 in TVL in that pool. That would equate to a rough APR of 0.3% daily or 125% APR. Okay, so that is how it's calculated, right? These votes will be used for next week's emissions, right? So if you know there's 2.7 million, we can actually do some quick math. And I can tell you how much this pool will actually get for the following week. And you as a user have to get used to kind of doing this to kind of gamify how you're going to move your money around in the Glacier ecosystem. So we know there's 2.7 million, right? There's 2.7 million Glacier going out next week. And if we are to assume that 12.42% of that vote is actually being cast, well, let's see how much Glacier is going to be pointed to this. So we just need to times that by 12.42%. That's 335,000 Glacier being pointed to the WaveX pool, right? And if you want to go further and really calculate how much rewards that's going to be, right? We have Glacier at a price of 0.048. So then we times this by 0.048, Glacier's current price. We have about $16,000 going to this pool, right? And if you want to look, we can actually go to the liquidity page. Let's find the WaveX USDT. And we can see that there's 3 million total TVL. So what I do, right, since I know $16,000 is actually getting cast, or $16,000 is being emitted in 7 days, let's find out what the daily rate is here. So $2,299 are going out daily, right? And if you're not watching this on YouTube, by the way, that is where the screen is. So you could pop in on YouTube after we watch this. I know this is kind of more of a visual thing, but I wanted to get this on YouTube, and that was the main purpose of this. So if you're watching it live, hopefully, you know, I'm able to kind of outline it enough in the chat so that you can understand it a little bit. All right, so $2,299 of Glacier is going out into this pool daily for the next 7 days after the epoch flip, right? So how much is that to you all as users? Well, we can divide it up amongst this 3 million. And it's going to be, I'm pretty sure that's going to be about 0.007 with this E4, which is kind of difficult. But you can assume, what I'm saying is you can assume the APRs of next week. So we'll likely move these votes around in core pools. So I'm just using this as an example. So this actually will probably go up. Right now it's about 23% APR. And another thing is that it's highly volatile, especially with Glacier price being up and down so often. You know, this 23% was actually started out at about double, right? It started double at this right now because Glacier was about double the price at the start of this epoch. So these APRs are going to move around, but you can always find out exactly how much Glacier, right, is going out to users to each of these pools, and it's completely dependent on user behavior on these votes. So you see the BTC one right now is actually going out to about 15% of all these Glacier emissions, which is probably roughly about, you know, 400,000 Glacier. So the thing is, though, is these voting APRs, you can really double earn, right? You can really look at what's impactful as your size, right? If you're a big fish or a little fish, you can really determine how much of this, right? So there's a 419% APR on the YFX pool, right? There's only about 3% votes cast, 542,000. It'll be divided amongst evenly. Now, I don't know how many users are participating in that, but you can find out exactly how much each Glacier is technically worth in this pool by dividing these around, right? And finding out how much of this is going to each of these. And if you're a user with 500,000, right, if you have a $500,000 position and you vote on this pool, you'll earn $1,000. So because you'll be double the size of that pool. He'll earn this person will, whoever has this vote will be have $1,000, and the other $500,000 or 500,000 V Glacier position will earn 1,000. So it's all mathed out. It's weighted based on your vote size, and that is where these APRs are calculated. It's just assuming right now that these and these add up to dividing amongst these users, which is a small amount. 3% of total votes cast is going to be pretty high. Right, so you as a user, you can look at who's bribing, and I'll be honest, YFX will probably be bribing like this for quite some time, and they have a VNFT position, so they'll be earning some of this back. But you as a user, depending on your size, you can really start to debate, you know, where like right here, we put $25,000 or 25,000 Glacier as a bribe for this. There's only 1% of votes even being cast on this. That's why you're seeing a high voting APR. You can come in and get this right now. Now, you're going to earn fees off of this as well. But even if there are no fees, I'm trying to tell you that the protocol, because of bribing and how good it is for TVL, for protocols, and for us to bribe these pairs, these are going to stay up pretty high, right? We're going to consistently push out bribes and consistently push partners to bribe so that voting APR is always lucrative. Right now, even the top 10 payers here on voting APR is better APRs as a voter, and you're going to get more money as a voter than you would even LPing. And you're taking a different type of risk, right? LPing has impermanent loss risk, and voting has, you're locked for 3 months. You can obviously sell it on secondary markets, but just as an example. So obviously, as we educate members, let me go back because that's basically my example. And I would rewatch this section or just rewatch this a couple of times and hopefully something clicks. And if it doesn't, don't worry. I'll be making more educational content because voting is so pivotal to these protocols that I want to make sure that every user understands the risk and also the reward of doing it, because it only benefits every single person in the ecosystem to understand this, right? So now that we have that out of the way, the goal here is to consistently increase the lock numbers to get to 80%, 85%, right? You're taking a 3-month risk if you max lock, of course, 12 weeks. But if you can return, like, what is your return on that V Glacier in that 3 months? And oftentimes what you'll find is most people are making such good returns in those 3 months, depending on the broad ecosystem, that they'll continue to relock to maintain that governance, right? Because you have to increase the lock every week to have a competitive advantage with your governance power. And especially at these prices right now, you're doing really good for yourself. And I'm never going to advocate for you to start buying, right? I'm just saying that now it's an even better time to buy or dollar cost average than it was then. So all that to say is we have obviously a lot of people farming right now, but the goal is to get a lot of people also voting. And the good news is that if you take that risk, and if other users are taking that risk, then that is when the flywheel really takes place, right? That is when voting really gets crazy. That's when bribing, because if voting is really good for the protocol, right? The bribe ecosystem is good. You're going to see oftentimes that the TVLs increase, and to be competitive, protocols have to increase their bribes, right? Because they're going to be getting more back anyway. And so will you all as users. It really starts to pick up in terms of, user behavior and doing the right thing for the ecosystem, because doing the right thing often leads to you all gaining more. Right now, 10 days in, 10 days is not a lot of time. We have a lot of people just farming the ecosystem, and that's fine. We have that designed here because that is an option, right? And we can't get mad at market participants. We just have to educate the users that want to learn and want to use it to the best of their ability, right? Let's see. Question: when you vote with V Glacier, do you lose those? I'm still confused about the number of V Glacier. No, you don't lose that V Glacier. You've only casted a vote, right? You've interacted with a contract. You still own the V Glacier. Now, you can't transfer it during your vote, which is why we have the reset votes button. You can't do you can't do anything with your V Glacier once you voted. It's kind of locked in, right, for that week, and it has to wait until next epoch flips, and then you can do kind of what you envision yourself to do with that V Glacier. Now, it does unvest over time, right? So when it unvests, what it does is you essentially have the same V Glacier position, except it's losing power, right? So it could go from 1,000 V Glacier to 970 the next week, and then 930, and it'll continue to chip away until you as a user say, I'm going to either let this run out or I'm going to relock my position. And you either max lock it or just increase your duration. And what that does is give you back that governance power so that you have, right, based on these weighting percentages, you get more of the governance, right? You get more voting power with more V Glacier, and that equates to more bribes and more fees for you. Exactly, Crypto Gamer. You don't spend them, you're just locking them into the voting system. Is there a risk that reset will count as a vote? Yes, apparently it does. I know there's a couple individuals, because I put that video out because I was very confident at the time that resetting your vote, because again, these are complex systems that you would have to reset your vote, but apparently it is not the case as far as the contracts. If you reach out to me independently, specifically if you reset your vote and you're unable to vote this week, just know that you'll still earn off of that based on where you put your votes last week, by the way. You'll still earn off of that from what we see in the contracts. But if you do feel like you're inclined that I want to vote somewhere else, let me know and I'll work something out with you individually. When can we reset votes? So resetting votes does two things. I'll let you know kind of what resetting vote does. So if you're locked into a vote, right, you're locked in right now to whatever it is, or if you've added it to a LP position for the legacy boost feature that was in some of these Salt Leaf forks that we don't have, you want to transfer that to a new user. You want to sell that V Glacier to a new user, whatever it is you want to do, you'll have to reset that vote, right? Because right now it's either, if you've done nothing with it, it's still locked into the same vote. And if you've recasted a vote, you won't be able to reset it. But all it does essentially is takes it out of the voting contract and allows you to transfer it or do other things with it, right? So that's really all the resetting vote does. I was under the impression that you would have to reset vote to change it, but you could actually change your vote once Epoch flips. It allows it to take it out of the voter contract, and then you get full access to it again. So with that being said, right, I think that is a good overview of the voting system. Hopefully, you all understand the kind of the vote economy a little bit deeper, and we are going to be putting out a lot of educational material and short form content quite soon. I'm going to be committing to it a lot this week as we try and expand our reach in the market, and let other users know. And I think the biggest thing to drill in is that you don't just have to farm and dump Glacier to earn rewards here. And honestly, you know, if you look out for the protocol on this one, you'll see a lot come back to you as a user. Because if you're buying a 480K market cap token, or you're farming it and using it like the protocol intends it to be, you're going to see a lot of upside in terms of, and it's not like I'm asking you to take a leap. You do earn on it the entire time. And so the goal here is to let people know where the risks are and where the reward is. And hopefully the reward outweighs the risk, so that we have more users locking, right? 68% is great. I'm very happy we have 68% locked. But we have to see, an increase in that number, because the less Glacier in the ecosystem, or the less Glacier that's being farmed and dumped, the lower the floor is, or the higher the floor is, and the more the user gets to see the upside potential of bribing. That's the goal, right? We have to get the flywheel off. It doesn't happen in 10 days, right? It happens over time. It happens from new partners, new bribes, new opportunities to yield off the platform. It takes a lot, right? It doesn't take, I'll be honest, marketing doesn't just magically fix numbers. And marketing for the reason of getting people to buy our ecosystem token is ridiculous. I just won't do it. I'll market when there's something to market, and we'll do it the same way we have been, and just be more efficient at it. So after Epoch, it's best to reset your lock to max to have max vote power. That's correct. Yeah, you should increase your duration if you plan on continuing, but just understand that's going to extend your lock period, right? So as long as you understand that risk, then yes, what you're saying is correct. Is there any other questions? Again, it wasn't my intention to have a full scale AMA or anything today. I really wanted to get the kind of the mathing out for voting and get people more comfortable with the process of it. Yes, the glacier we're airdropping will be V Glacier. I think Crypto Gamer, the goal for the DEX is to always touch as many users as possible. We're an inflationary token. The price may go up or down, but it's the yielding opportunity behind the token, not so much how many there is. Can we eventually have some kind of burn mechanism of Glacier? Potentially. But our goal is to get Glacier in as many hands as possible. And these prices may be, in 6 months to a year, we may have $100 million market cap and Glacier is at like, 1 cent or something, right? I think the price is something that is something not to look at, right? Especially in 10 days. I think it would be kind of silly. And I know that's not what you're saying. I know you're just saying about the burn mechanism, but I'm just speaking in generals here. Yeah, of course, less tokens is always better, but the control of Glacier is kind of on the treasury anyway. The treasury has like over 100 million Glacier. Obviously, we're not selling that. And we'll constantly monitor where we're at. And honestly, the entire team feels like we're in a really good spot. I understand people get stressed in DeFi in 10 days if prices go up or down. What I'm trying to say is that this is a platform of DEX that will be here for a long time, and we're trying to provide essential tools for DeFi and a new way for protocols to get involved with kind of having a part in adding to their own liquidity and having their own say. And it takes time to get people kind of used to it. It takes time to get people kind of educated on it. And we may go up in TVL or down in TVL, but the platform will remain the same. The people behind the platform will remain the same. And we'll continue, pushing the narrative of what we're trying to do on AVAX. We will be a competitive DEX in the coming, weeks. We've already delivered a lot in 10 days. I think our website is one of the few that actually work really well. We have Yak Swap integration. I think we've accomplished a hell of a lot in 10 days. I'm very proud of my team. So again, I understand when people get nervous in DeFi over ups and downs, but I think we are in a very good position, and we're in price discovery. We have to have people that see a position that they say, "Oh, Glacier's at a low enough position. I feel like entering now." I think that's our goal is to make sure that people see that, and we're not there yet. Maybe who knows? Rob, the airdrop that you're getting is for people that in Epoch Zero were to lock or LP over $100. Anybody that did that, we're going to be sending out an airdrop to. So I don't know if you qualified or when you got in, but yeah. So that's the goal, guys. Is to continue killing it, right? We have a lot more left. We're talking to protocols every day, and again, I think we're in a really good position. So if you don't have any other questions, I'll end it here. And I just want to say that I appreciate everybody's support. We're going to continue pushing the Discord numbers up. We're with real users, right? And we're going to continue to look for organic growth and find a bottom the old-fashioned way of just having good verifiable numbers for users to involve themselves with and having trust and education on the platform. And it's a slow start. It's not the hype start that everybody gets, but I think that we have plenty of momentum and plenty left to come. And so if you're taking the ride with us, I appreciate it. If you have any questions that weren't answered here, feel free to DM me. Feel free to ask in the general chat or open a ticket. We're trying to make sure we're staying on top of the ticketing system. But yeah, I appreciate everybody being here. I think we're going to be doing some competitions over this next week or the week after. I don't know what Avery and Top Gun have in store, but I let them handle all of that. But either way, hopefully you learned something today. And happy Easter. I guess I should probably talk about Easter. If you celebrate it, happy Easter. And thanks for spending some time with me during this short call. But I'll end it here, guys. I'm going to bring up Glacier Finance bot to play us off with some synthwave and enjoy the rest of your day.